6:01 p.m. So I'm going to call the Selma City Council regular meeting for July 20th, 2020. Call it to order. Located at the Selma City Council Chambers in Selma, California. Also via teleconference phone number 1-301-715-8592. Meeting ID number is 851-1117. 8542, and the password is 1710. Okay. First, I need to read an official statement on behalf of the governor. On March 14th, 2020, Governor Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. On March 17th, 2020, Governor Newsom issued Executive Order N-2920, which allows local legislative bodies to hold public meetings via teleconferencing and to make public meetings accessible telephonically and otherwise electronically to all members of the public seeking to observe and address the local legislative body. Pursuant to Executive Order N-2920, please be advised that some or all of Selma City Council members will participate in meetings via teleconference. Public participation. Pursuant to Executive Order N-2920 and given the current health concerns, members of the public can access meetings streamed live on our YouTube page. Members of the public may not attend the meeting in person. In lieu of attendance at the meeting, the public can provide public comments verbally for the City Council consideration by calling in on the number posted on our agenda. Staff will unmute the public during the public comment portion of the meeting. Alternatively, the public can send correspondence to the City Council regarding agenda items by emailing publiccomment@cityofselma.com by 5 p.m. the day of the meeting with the subject line Selma City Council meeting correspondent with the item number of the agenda you wish to comment on. Or for a general comment, you can write City of Selma non-agenda item. All correspondence that does not relate to a specific item on the agenda will be made part of the official record of this meeting and be referred to the city manager or other staff for appropriate action or attention. Correspondence that does relate to a specific item on the agenda will be addressed as appropriate during consideration of that agenda item to which it relates. Contact the city clerk with any questions by phone at 559-891-2200 extension 3104 or by emailing using the email referenced above, which is publiccomment@cityofselma.com. Thank you everybody for your patience. And now I believe we will move on to our invocation once again by Pastor Joe Alvarez of the Iglesia Antioquia or the Antioch Church.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we just thank you for this opportunity to serve you, Heavenly Father. We just ask you that you use every councilman, woman, and the mayor, Heavenly Father, to do your perfect will in the city of Selma. I just ask you that you give them grace, wisdom, patience, and everything else that they need, Heavenly Father, to do your work. We thank you and we love you for this opportunity to serve. And we, Heavenly Father, put ourselves in your hands and everything that's going to be dealt with today. In the name of Jesus Christ, we thank you. We love you. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody,
Thank you,
please
Pastor
stand and
Jones.
face the flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to this flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice.
for all. Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Here.
Councilmember Robertson,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Here.
Mayor Franco.
Here. Potential conflict of interest. Any council member who has a potential conflict of interest may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Seeing that there's none, we will move on to oral communications. Notice to the public, at this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item which the council has jurisdiction. No actions or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issue raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public shall limit the remarks to 3 minutes. City Clerk, do we have anybody wishing to make a comment at this time?
Caller ending in 237. Are there any comments that you wish to speak on?
Hello.
Hi, caller. Is there any comments that you wish to speak on? You have 3 minutes.
Sí. Disculpe, mi esposa me va a transferir, transferir porque yo no hablo muy bien español, permítame.
No habla muy bien en inglés. Está bien. Por favor, me da su nombre o el nombre de su esposa.
Sí, mi nombre es Mauricio Valderroque, mi esposa es Mireya Orozco.
Gracias. Tienen 3 minutos.
Buenas tardes, estoy hablando para pedir un favor.
He's
I'm calling
calling to ask
Oh,
a
go ahead.
favor. Yeah, to ask for a favor.
El problema es ahorita yo tengo 11 perros
He has 11 dogs.
y los queremos mucho, yo y mi familia.
Those are our dogs, our family, we love those dogs. We had them since they were babies, so
Y los tenemos por varios años.
we had them for
Y tengo por varios años y tengo un niño también que tiene autismo y pues él está también bien acostumbrado a los perros.
we have a child that is autistic, and those dogs are his pets, our pets. So it kind of helps therapy dogs for him.
Y yo quería ver si me podían ayudar con un permiso para tenerlos, porque no quiero deshacerme de ellos, no sé qué
He was wondering, he was hoping that you guys can help him get a permit or something to keep the dogs, because we don't want to get just rid of the dogs just like that.
Yo tengo pruebas de que no tengo problemas con los vecinos,
He said he doesn't have any issues with our neighbors,
nomás con uno que...
except for one that has been complaining about the dogs.
Pero quisiera pedirles que si me pudieran aprobar una licencia. Yo sé que el city nomás permite 5 perros.
We know that we're at city, you guys only allowed to have 5. He wants to see if he can get an exception, or if you guys can help him get a license or a permit to keep the dogs.
Yo se los pido por favor, porque sí me va a doler deshacerme de mis
He's
perros.
asking that as a favor because it's really hard for us to get rid of the dogs.
Yo tengo ya 35 años aquí viviendo en Selma y nunca había pedido un favor a la ciudad, pero yo me comprometo a que no va a haber problemas con mis perros.
He's been living here for 35 years in Selma. He's never had an issue or asked for any type of favors, and he said he's going to make sure that the dogs don't cause problems, which they haven't. It's just that, they're complaining because they bark sometimes.
Y si no se pudiera de perdido, que si me dejaran aunque sea tener 6, yo sé que el límite son 5, pero aunque sea 6.
If it's not possible for him to keep all the dogs, if you guys can let him keep them, at least 6 of them.
Pues, va a ser muy difícil para nosotros deshacernos de la mayoría de perros.
Yeah, because it's going to be, like I said, really, really hard for us to get rid of all the dogs because we had them since they were little puppies.
Pues es todo, nomás se los pediría.
And that's all he was requesting at this time.
All right. Renner, we don't thank you, and we'll have the city manager look into it with our code enforcement and see if we can come to a workable solution at this time.
Okay, so y'all guys let us know.
Yes, we will follow up with you. I do believe you've been working with code enforcement. I believe the city manager is aware of the situation. So we will be, the city manager will be contacting you.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
And Teresa, if you could brief council on the situation, I'd appreciate it too.
Thank you. I am aware of the situation. We'll give you a briefing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ren, is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, this is for, hang on just one second. Caller ending in 377. Your call is unmuted. Caller ending in 377. You have 3 minutes to speak to council during oral communications. Is there anything you would like to speak to council regarding? Those are our only 2 callers as of now, and we have no emails, Mayor Franco.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our special presentation. And our first one on our list is our COVID-19 presentation.
It looks like we're having a bit of technical difficulties. Give me 1 second, Mayor Franco.
Here we go. All right. Can you all see the screen that I'm sharing?
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. You won't see my face today, but hopefully the presentation will be enough for you. Thank you so much for letting me present every week on this. I feel it's really important. I really appreciate the time to get to update everyone. So we've been pretty active. I'm going to try and keep this really short since we do have some extra presentations just after this. As far as the data for the city of Selma, our cases do keep rising. These are the last 4 city council meetings, and the one here kind of up in the middle with 543 cases. This was just last week. Our numbers keep rising. They were going up, almost doubling every time we had a city council meeting, so I was very concerned for this next one. But we're doing okay. If you can see this chart here, our first case came in March 28th. That was the first one recorded for the city of Selma. And as you can see on this chart, there's a few points of data that were made available to us towards the end of May. The 4 red blocks that you see at the bottom, those are our city council meetings. And you can see how, as I've reported on this, they just keep going up and up and up. The dot all the way at the end on the red line is our projected metric for the 1st of August, and that's just below 1,000 cases. So with the rate of case increases for Selma, with the data that's been provided by the county, that's where we're looking at being in just a couple more weeks. And fortunately, the last 2 days from last week, Thursday and Friday, the cases were a little bit lower than expected. So you see those 2 dots just kind of hovering below the red line. Hopefully that's a trend that will continue and we'll bring that line back down. And as you can see, as we've hit these sort of milestones and events when the mask order was released, when our bars and restaurants closed, and then we had that second round of businesses closing. This just shows you the timeline of when things are occurring as far as when we're communicating with you and on the council and when these announcements are being made. Hopefully this helps to visualize. I'll try to carry this graph forward with us so we can see where our projections are going to be as far as our case rates in the county, in the city of Selma. They are reporting our numbers a little bit differently for the county. Oops, here we go. Missing a couple data points here, but this is generally where we're at right now with 589 total cases, still at 7 deaths within Selma, and 234 of those are close contact. I do expect these numbers to go up tomorrow when I get new numbers. They'll be reporting them on Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward. So when I see you all on Mondays, it might be a little bit older data, but you're always welcome to give me a call and get the most updated numbers. I'll try to get those over to the city manager as well if she's unable to attend those meetings. There's a lot of COVID meetings, so please check in with us for updates if you are curious, and that's for members of the public as well. We're happy to share any of this information with you. We released our mask campaign, the Cover Up to Open Up campaign. Last time we spoke, I thought about 2 weeks we would have launched it, but we got it done in about a week. And we printed up posters, had them translated into Spanish and Punjabi, and we delivered over 1,200 masks around the community. And thank you so much to the Selma Healthcare District and the Fresno County Department of Public Health. They provided the masks that we were able to give out, and some of those were N95, some of those were kind of like a neoprene mask. The community members really appreciated this. The staff had a great time going out and being able to interact with the folks that were comfortable with coming out and seeing us. We had a few questions here and there, but it was really good to just get the information out. Really appreciate the Raisin Queen also for coming out with me specifically and knocking on all the doors. It was quite warm that morning. But hopefully this campaign will have an impact. I think it's already made some impressions on some folks, and I look forward to seeing more of our postings getting out there through Facebook and Instagram and doing another round of outreach. We're planning for next week on Tuesday or Thursday. And I'm going to play the video for you. I don't know if the sound's going to come up. So, Mayor, if you can just like wave your arms at me if you don't hear anything. No audio?
It's just low. We're hearing it through your microphone.
Okay. Well, that's available on our Facebook page and the Develop Selma website. I encourage you to check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I'm going to skip through the 2 videos that we have. Let's see here. We did have over 30 community members participate in that photo shoot, and you'll see their faces popping up just about every day this month. And if we get more, we'll just keep going with it. Also want to share the shout outs that I'm getting via email to city staff. People have been very appreciative of the information and assistance from all departments. And just wanted to share that to let the city know, my coworkers know that it's coming through. People are seeing it and they appreciate all the help. The community's been fantastic with all the food deliveries. Michael helping me with a senior who's actually out of the county, but we still, help them anyway. We get them the resources they need in their county, get them hooked up to the right place, just because they're confused about where county lines fall. So thank you all for assisting with this. And then we also got a shout out for our ad campaign from Dave Palmaville from the Department of Public Health. So that was also nice to get a bump there and some recognition for the city of Selma, trying to get our mass campaign out there as much as possible and just really trying to be in the forefront, helping our community members. 2 things, G's Restaurant, with the open and closure of businesses, it was a nice moment. Last week, we got to coordinate a deal with their neighbor, the Hair and All That Jazz right next door. While the salon's closed, they're being very generous and letting the restaurant put tables and chairs in front of their salon and to be able to expand their business while the other one's closed. This is a kind of neighborly thing that makes Selma great, and love seeing that in our downtown area. And also Nelson's Hardware. We had a few complaints about the store not requiring masks for their employees or for their staff, but we've been working with them over the last few weeks, just trying to keep them educated and provide information, and we have seen compliance with that business in the last few days. And for our next steps, definitely going to keep an eye on these 211 hotline calls that get reported back to us, the top needs in the community across Fresno, Madera County regarding housing, food, income assistance, utilities, and healthcare. So we'll be keeping an eye on these as far as strategizing in the future where our resources and funding might be able to go as we look at other grant opportunities and what we do with the CARES Act funding that we have available. Enforcement continues to be a focus for us, and again, doing our outreach and planning for the future. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Questions, anybody?
I've got a question. Do we have any sightings of the task force, the governor's task force coming to Selma and speaking to any of the businesses or doing any enforcement?
Not that I've heard yet. I know they are in coordination with the county for that purpose across the county, but I haven't heard of anything specifically in Selma.
Do we know what type of businesses that they are looking out for? Are they going on complaints from citizens, or do we know?
I believe they're following up on complaints directed towards their respective departments. It's a task force made up from folks from ABC and OSHA, and I think a couple of other agencies. So I believe they're responding to those complaints more primarily. I don't know how much they're responding to individual citizen complaints.
I have a question. You mentioned the CARES Act funding. Has Selma received any of that funding?
We did receive notice that we were allotted some funds, and then we're still waiting to figure out how that money can be spent. Yes, it was about $300,000 that was earmarked for us, but it's made in payments over time.
Add to that, we did participate on a conference call last week, the assistant city manager and I, to learn more about how we go ahead and get reimbursed those dollars. And there is a presumption for public safety being COVID related. So that is a very positive component of what we learned, as well as some other aspects of what we can go ahead and get reimbursed for.
Are there any more questions, council? Okay, with that, I think that they were going to try to play the video one more time.
I wear my mask for you and everybody you know.
I wear my mask to protect the community, to protect my family, and to protect those who come near me.
For my grandkids and the people in our community to keep us safe.
Yo uso mi mascarilla por las personas de Selma.
I wear my mask for my family and the community of Selma.
I wear my mask because Mama said to, and I care.
I wear my mask for Selma businesses.
I wear my mask to protect others.
Yo uso mi máscara por mi mamá de 87 años para proteger su salud.
I wear my mask for my daughter and all of our Cocorico friends.
I wear a mask for my family, also for my customers, make sure they stay safe.
I wear my mask for the community.
I wear it for my seniors. I wear it for my loved ones.
I wear my mask for the arts.
I wear my mask for my family.
I wear my mask for my mom.
I wear a mask for my grandmother.
I wear my mask for myself and for my family.
I wear my mask for my niece and my nephew.
I wear a mask for my fellow essential workers.
I wear my mask for my community. It's not about me.
Will you wear one for me? ¿Usarás una máscara por mí?
Will you wear your mask for me? Will you wear a mask for me?
Will you wear your mask for me?
It's for me.
For me. It's for me.
Will you wear one for me?
Will you wear a mask for me?
Will you wear one for me?
Will you wear your mask for me?
Because it's up to all of us to keep each other safe.
All right, thank you. Rainer, are you going to play the second video as well? Oh, here it is. Thank you, and thank staff for all their hard work on this education program, as well as the mask, but also promoting our census, which is still going on at this time. Unless we have any further questions by council on this COVID-19 presentation, we'll move on to our second presentation. Okay, with that, we'll move on to our presentation on planning updates in our downtown overlay zone. You're muted.
Oh.
Hi, this is
Hello.
Sarah. Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'm here to give you an update on current planning projects, and then we'll have a couple comments from Teresa, and then we'll have a presentation on the overlay.
All right.
Raina, can I share my screen? That'll won't be a problem.
Yes, you may.
I think that should work. No, everyone see that?
See it.
Okay. This list is our current planning project list. So this shows any application that is made to the planning department for an entitlement. Anything that is highlighted in blue has already been completed. It can be approved or denied. I think there's only one project on here that was denied, but anything that's completed is shown in blue.
I'm sorry, we don't have a copy of that.
Yeah, we don't.
I can email it out to everyone after the meeting.
I thought we asked for one.
We did.
Yeah, Mayor and council members, we will be giving you one. I think she wanted to go ahead and reflect it in the presentation and then send it to you. If you're comfortable with that.
Why don't we send it? Why don't you send it to us and let us review it? So we have any kind of dialogue with her, we could do it, or at least have questions.
Certainly, we can go ahead and then you have this presentation maybe at the second meeting in August. So you have time. So we have time to send it to you in advance. Is that what is being recommended?
Today. So we were supposed to,
I thought we had requested this during the budget.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And so we are scheduling the monthly meetings to go over it. And we will get it to you, a printed out version to you in advance of the discussion. So we can go ahead and table this for today and move on to the second part of the presentation, send it to you, and then have discussion about it moving forward in the future so that you have it in front of you to digest before the discussion.
Is council okay with that?
I'm good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're good. It's gonna go through.
All right, we'll wait till we get the spreadsheet in front of us and then proceed with that part. So we'll just go on with the second portion then of this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the second part is for the downtown overlay. The concept of a downtown overlay, we received the circuit planner grant from the Fresno County Council of Governments. And we have been working with RINCON consultants to start the discussion of what a downtown overlay could do for the city of Selma. And this is a part where we look at the possibilities and get the discussion going with the planning commission, with the city council, with the community. We do public workshops to hear what you all would like to see in downtown. And then that way we can look at doing an overlay that opens up the possibilities for that type of development in downtown. For example, if you want mixed use, what would some of the challenges be maybe with parking if there were apartments downtown? And how can we address that? So there are a lot of possibilities that can be addressed in a downtown overlay to promote development and encourage growth. And so that is why we want to work with our circuit planner to look at continuing to foster this dialogue about what a downtown overlay for Selma, what we'd like to see in our downtown, what you all would like to see in your downtown, so we could work at proposing some incentives and some ways to develop the downtown that would help facilitate your vision. So this is really an information gathering process at this point. And again, RINCON consultants met with the Planning Commission last month to gather some ideas. It was a public workshop, and we're continuing that workshop dialogue. So I'll turn it over to RINCON. Again, this is funded through Fresno COG for the city of Selma. And it looks like we will be able to get funding through the COG again in this fiscal year to further this. So we received about 9,000 last year, and we will be continue to receive that a circuit planner award to do this, more of this moving forward this year. And it should dovetail nicely. The work we do with the circuit planner should dovetail nicely into our zoning ordinance update, so that we could get a downtown overlay proposal that would just be a chapter that will fit in, more or less, a chapter that will fit right on into our zoning ordinance update that is proposed to be funded by our SB2 grant. So I'll turn on over to RINCON then at this point.
Thank you, City Manager Rivera, and welcome. Thank you for having us, Mayor and council members. Can you see the screen we have up here?
I see it.
Okay, good. My name is Jerry Hiddleman. I'm with RINCON Consultants, and I'll be doing the first part of the presentation, and then Della Acosta with RINCON will be doing the second part. And as stated, we're looking for a way to implement your vision of downtown Selma. Next slide, please. So just some ideas for the vision for downtown Selma, and we need to have you flesh this out. The council and the community is to create a pedestrian-friendly, vibrant street design for the downtown area, establish downtown as a family-friendly entertainment destination, enhance economic development and local business presence, and also to embrace the community culture of raising capital of the world. So these are just some ideas. This can be enhanced, and we can, through the overlay, implement this vision. Next slide, please. So the purpose of an overlay district is to provide, it's an overlay over the existing zoning. So the existing zoning will be the same, but the overlay will allow different things to happen that you might not be able to implement through your current zoning ordinance. So we're hoping that an overlay would provide a consistent vision for downtown. Again, what's your community vision? What's the council vision? It would allow for appropriate uses such as mixed use, residential, commercial, and similar uses. Right now, you don't have much residential in downtown, but there's a possibility that could be done through some mixed use projects or other types of zoning. And that could be business, retail, residence, entertainment. Those are the kind of uses we'll be looking for downtown. Can provide building and design guidance for future development. What should downtown look like? We'll show you a lot of pictures in the second part of the presentation, but what would it really look like in terms of design? You have a great mix of architectural styles down there right now. So the proposed downtown overlay zone, again, we need to establish those boundaries. So I'll be looking to you to establish the boundaries. As you can see in yellow, that is the outer boundary of what you might want to consider, and that would go from Branch Street, Wright Street, Arantz Street to the north, McCall Avenue, Centerville, and Kingsburg Canal to the east, and Sylvia Street to the west. So you can see that's a very large area. Then we could do little sub areas within that district as well. And then proposed High Street, that's really the core of your downtown, and that's shown in green. So High Street is from Arantz to 2nd, and generally from the alley on to Front Street. So that would be the core, and then we can do maybe some different types of overlays outside of that. Next slide, please. This is just more of a close-up of show you where those zones are. So again, High Street zone in the middle. You can see where the Selma Police Department, City Hall are in relationship to that. And then for the canal, all the way on the outskirts of downtown, there are places that have embraced that and have done a nice vision for that canal with paths, maybe some commercials, some parks, and that could really enhance that area quite a bit as well. Next slide. And then you can see this is the close-up of the core area, which is High Street, and a lot of activity down there. You have your farmers market, you have other activities. So that would be the core of this overlay zone. So next slide, please. And now I'll hand the presentation over to Della Acosta.
Thanks, Jerry. So some ideas on the goals for the overlay zone are mostly centered around 4 things. It's allowing for a land use mix that's economically feasible and oriented around the community. It's incentivizing people to get out of their cars and walk around downtown so that they can patronize the businesses downtown better. It's really, really ensuring that we dial in the parking in downtown and the parking requirements so that they work well for those businesses that are there and the people who are visiting downtown. And it's establishing a set of design guidelines so that developers know what you guys are looking for when they want to build or do improvements to the buildings and the infrastructure around their buildings moving forward, so they know what to expect and what to do. Next slide, please. So we're going to look at each one of those goals closer so we can get really good feedback from you on what your thoughts are, because we want to make sure that this overlay zone accomplishes the city's vision. We do have images in each of these slides and they're there just for inspiration, and we'd love to hear what you like and what you don't like so that we can really nail down what the vision is for the downtown. So the first goal is to set economically feasible, community-oriented land mix that accomplishes the city vision. And this is mostly geared towards allowing a variety of land uses that are compatible with the vision of the downtown. Retail, restaurants, what types of housing uses would be compatible with downtown? Would that be live work or apartments on the top floor, or maybe even duplexes and fourplexes, maybe? And then government service industries, perhaps. What would fit in with the downtown? Next slide. The second goal is pedestrian-oriented downtown using complete street strategies. High Street is already a pretty good example of what complete street strategies can look like in Selma. It's basically using crosswalks and bulb outs and benches, landscaping, other amenities like that, that's geared towards managing traffic for a variety of road users. And it would look different on different streets depending on what the need is for that particular street. But it's really focused on just making sure everyone can use the road safely and pleasantly if they would like to. Next slide. Parking requirements, using these strategically to make sure that the land is used effectively and allowing flexibility for the projects so that they can meet the requirements. This could look like shared parking. It could be off-site parking. It could be allowing developers to pay an in lieu fee so that in the future the city could possibly procure a public parking lot. Really what we're looking for here is to understand what the parking needs are and to know that there may be future opportunities outside of this project for things like a parking study, joint use agreements, other ways to refine the parking in the downtown. But this is a really great place for us to start with how to refine parking in the downtown. Next slide. And then design guidelines that set forth the desired look and feel for downtown development. So helping developers really understand what you'd like to see in future development, what you want it to look like. This is going to make sure that new and renovated buildings fit in with the small town charm that Selma has and have a cohesive look in the downtown. And The next few slides are going to go through some images just to kind of try and get some reactions. Yes, no, definitely yes, definitely no, so that we can get some feedback on what you guys are looking for. Next slide. So just some kind of concepts of what other cities have done around design in their downtowns. Various inspiration. This is geared towards entranceways to downtown. What other cities have done to welcome people into their downtown and really differentiate, okay, now you are entering downtown. I think it would be really good to establish a sort of gateway into the downtown for Selma. And some signage and other ways of using community space. And then the next slide is contrasting that with currently what's in the downtown as far as when you're entering the downtown, what the entrance currently looks like. And the next slide is currently High Street. So just sort of some contrast between, you know, some other cities' concepts and maybe some reactions to those versus what is currently there and what the possibilities are. And next slide is the implementation goals. So the big implementation goals for this would be to try and get developers on board and helping where possible with private public partnerships, to have clear, realistic standards and guidance, make it easy for everyone to know what's expected and what's required when they develop in the downtown, to identify funding sources and financing opportunities like grants, fee options, any ways that can fund future projects. And then of course, we would make sure that the overlay zone is compatible and consistent with all other planning documents and processes in Selma. And well, the last slide was just discussion questions.
Thank you. Is there any questions from council?
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
I know we've been talking about revitalizing downtown for some time now. And we did talk about doing some color coordinations or doing some kind of revitalize on the buildings, which some of these plans that you have here look really nice. But my question is how can we incentivize the building owners to buy into this? Shouldn't we be having like a meeting to include everybody? I know it's hard right now because we're having to do Zoom, and I think they tried to do this meeting about 2 weeks ago, but it just didn't work out for the public. But maybe these are just, I mean, we're taking some steps here. Are we going to start to move forward with this project now, or how close are we?
I can jump in. I understand that we are going to move forward with the project, and it is, like you stated, very important to get input from those downtown businesses, people who live in the community, of course, from you, the council and the planning commission, and we'll try to figure out the best way to do it. I know, like you said, it is challenging, but I think it's important to have a meeting. Maybe we can do a PowerPoint where community members can be invited and get their input on design and how they would like to fix up their front of their businesses and so forth. So that's a great idea.
Yeah, we are currently working on a variety of outreach options that we're going to be giving to city staff to review. So there is definite plans. We are just at the very beginning of this process. And there are options that we're going to be looking at of how to reach out to the business owners and residents in the downtown before we move forward on anything definitive.
Scott, do you have a question?
So the council identified revitalizing downtown as a goal last year. And it's encouraging that these elements are coming together, but it's almost like a kaleidoscope. They're just kind of all floating around in a circle right now. And I think it's very important that we don't let them keep floating, but this is a good start. but we need to keep narrowing the focus. And one of the ways to narrow it is that zone too. Zone seems awfully big for a downtown enterprise zone. So let's make sure that we look at that and identify the correct boundaries on this, because I tuned into the planning commission meeting, and that was one issue that came up of, it seems it's better to have a tighter zone downtown than it is to have a more far-reaching one in terms of the benefits that the city can provide. Another issue that came up, Kira had said something about building owners, developers coming to town and having their projects turned down because of the restrictiveness of our codes. I think it's very important that while we're doing this and coming up with these, wonderful pictures of streets and how things could look, that we revise our codes too. Right. So that, there's more flexibility for mixed use, habitational and commercial, that makes towns vibrant, for bike lanes, to encourage people to live here and to come here and have restaurants and place destination points. I think those are all important. And finally, it's important that we incentivize the building owners and the developers to come here. We've got that $25,000 fund that we need to get back to and pass. That's also a good start, but a starting point in terms of making our city really business friendly. And then as a complement to that, having our planning department and our building department, user friendly and developer friendly and business friendly as well, so that people really want to come here and start their businesses and open their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's the exact kind of input we need, and we'll get more of that from the community, especially narrowing down the area of this overlay. That's very important for the downtown.
Yeah, I think all of council is very interested in enhancing our downtown area, and like we all said, this is just a starting point. So as we all work together, we can refine it and go through this process. So I want to thank you for your work. Councilmember Trio, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Just in regards to, I want to get a little more of the process. So the overlay is the first step of gathering the intel, and then you're meeting with residents and the city, or at one point you'll meet with because I have two businesses that I'm thinking about doing some things there in downtown, and I actually did the step of moving out of downtown so I can make sure that my business could be economically friendly towards what we want to look for the future of our town. But the question I have is just like Councilmember Robertson was saying, is that me as the developer or an owner of a business, the questions are, is the first the overlay, then the next step would be, what would be the next step?
I think we'll have quite a few, as we pointed out in the slideshow, implementation goals. So we'll be looking for grants, different ways to fund improvements downtown. There used to be something, if you remember, under redevelopment, where there was a facade enhancement program for buildings. So maybe that could be done creatively in some other way. So we'll be looking at all those different implementation goals once we have the actual standards for the overlay zone and downtown nailed down.
What's the expectation of the completion of the overlay policies that will be given to the city council?
I think we were shooting for this fall. Timelines are a little tough these days, but we're going to shoot for probably later in the fall, maybe November.
So just for discussion process, if a business is already trying to develop something different and it falls under the overlay in the future, it doesn't coincide, or what should they be doing? Just stop building?
No, currently they would still be doing it under whatever standards you guys have under the current zoning code. The overlay would not be retroactive. It wouldn't, like, everything that is currently in process would just be grandfathered in. If you're concerned about, it just not being compatible with the vision in the future, we're going through the process, and it is a pretty pretty quick turnaround for the way these things go. Fall is actually a pretty quick timeline for writing an overlay zone. But we can definitely stay in communication with the council as often as you guys would like us to, if you want us to continue.
And if you're in the next, I guess, so the overlay would be the one, and the next step would be coming out and maybe even thinking about a facade program or things like that. Would that be through the city funding it and / finding grants, or are you guys looking at the city funding the facade?
It would be both. We'd be looking at all different sources. I think there's some state grants, there's SB2 funding, there's quite a few sources, but we'll put the whole range in front of you before you adopt this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Like it.
I have
Thank
another
you.
question. I'm sorry. Jerry
Go ahead,
and
Sarah.
Della. Also, the other issue that we have downtown, and I'm sure you folks have probably already reviewed this, but we do have a parking issue. You know, sometimes when everything is going on in town, it's very hard to find parking. Did you guys come across that issue?
Yes, and that was the purpose of the slide, where I said a big part of this is helping us to understand exactly what the parking issue, when exactly is parking a concern, how can we help alleviate that issue, what options are there. We'll definitely be looking at that very closely. That's a top priority of doing this.
But I also think that a lot of our own business owners were aware that they don't park in the front. That would alleviate a lot of the congestion.
Okay.
Also, you know, we've got a police station that's going to be empty. If the city doesn't turn that into a museum, demoing and making that a big parking lot with a ride over from there to the shopping district might be another alternative just to explore in the future.
We'll be looking at all those options. That's great. And Planning Commission had some input on that as well, you know, about parking in front, maybe remote parking. Farmers market's an issue, we know, certain days of the week. So we'll be taking all of that into consideration.
Yeah, I think really understanding what times parking becomes a problem and what's contributing to that could really help us dial that in.
Yeah.
So any feedback you have on that, we'd be happy to discuss and hear.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, or we'll move on? All right.
If council members do have any other information they do want to provide the consultants, we can get you their contact information. So as you have comments or hear things about the downtown area that might help them in the overlay formation, we appreciate the feedback.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote. For a purpose of discussion, any council member may have any item removed from the consent calendar and made part of our regular agenda. The council then can approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Is there any items that any council member wish to have removed?
I'd like to remove item D.
That was D as in David?
Yes.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to accept items A, B, and C.
I make a motion to approve A, B, and C.
Do we have a second?
Oh, Scott made the motion.
I made the motion. He made the second.
Oh, I'll take. We have a motion, and Councilman Trio, will you be the second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Robertson,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Franco.
Yes. All right, Mayor Pro Tem, item D.
Okay, just a few items on page 28. There's just a couple of them here. And it's 76369. And it says City of Selma. It says replenish petty cash for YE. What is that?
Those are petty cash deposit boxes. What they have is individual petty cash funds at different departments. So if they have miscellaneous expenditures, they can utilize those funds. So it's just at the end of the fiscal year, we like to replenish those and get those expenditures recorded.
Oh, for different departments?
Correct.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay, Councilman Robertson?
Page 28, check number 75351 for Arch for Social Media Archive Services. So my question is the 2,388, is that an annual charge to archive the city's new Facebook page?
That is annual. It's for all of our social media sites, not just the city's one. But yes, it is an annual charge.
Okay. And did we shop that around? I mean, how do you make sure that 2,400 is?
We actually had this this organization in place. We will be looking to potentially shop around next time. The way it kind of came around, it didn't really limit us to where we were at and being able to shop. I did receive some quotes, but they were pretty much in the ballpark, if not one of the lesser ones, if not the least. So we felt at this point to move forward and get them kind of restructured to kind of fill some of the gaps we're having with that service.
This is offsite storage so that it's going to be impervious.
That's correct. This contract actually came in place via PD. And since that has really expanded, and we're trying to get that in sync with what the city as a whole is doing. So that's the reason we want to move forward with this organization at this time and just get the service in sync.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions on item B from anyone? Okay, with that, I'll look for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Aye.
Councilmember Robertson,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Franco.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, we have no public hearings scheduled, so we can move on to, if council's fine, we can move on to regular business, or if they need a break, let me know now. Okay, seeing no break, we will move on to regular business. Item 2, consideration of a resolution authorizing the purchase of a new SMEAL 100-foot rear mount ladder truck. This is just something carried over from our last meeting. Council was requesting some additional information. Chief Peterson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. We're revisiting the purchase of our new ladder truck. I think council was confident in the value that the ladder truck provides to our community. And I think they were confident in the need for a new ladder truck based on the age and condition of our current one. The concern I think Councilwoman brought back was some questions about funding. I think Isaac can answer any of those questions. Isaac?
Sure. Thank you, Chief. So Purchase Council was requesting wanted me to reach out to our new consultants, HDL, to kind of give a better understanding of what our projections are looking like moving forward. They were able to produce that information, and we do look like we are stable as far as what our projections are for the fiscal budget coming up. We also are seeing actually an increase of what we initially projected due to the deferral program that we have previously discussed. And as Councilmember Trujillo brought up on our last meeting as well. So that coupled with our projections, I feel confident that our budget as is with today's cash flows, we look positive going through the year as projected. Obviously, we'll continue to monitor as we go through the fiscal year. COVID is always a factor that we factor into those projections as well. So again, this with COVID and the way we are going, we look stable as in our current fiscal projections, but we'll continue to monitor and report out through the year.
And just to review, council did approve the initial $625,000 transfer in for during the budget process for this fiscal year. And the rest of the truck would be broken down in between Measure S and the ambulance fund with $362,500 each. And I'm happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Isaac, on the, thanks for the financial report, okay?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thanks for the other part about Measure S and the fund. That's what you want to hear, I'm not, I'm trying to prepare just in case the rainy day comes. I don't want to, I don't want to lay anybody off.
Mhm.
Everybody's important in the city, everybody, all the way down. I don't care who it is. Everybody's very important, to keep the city moving. And I don't want, I don't want to see a downturn. And I want to make sure everybody's on a positive note that we're moving forward in the right direction. And thank you for the up on that report, Isaac. I admire that. And thanks. Robert,
Absolutely.
I needed that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Again,
Thank
just to talk about the funding sources a little bit more. I mean, as you know, a large chunk of this was actually allocated to the budget process. The underfunding sources, we make sure that we're not impacting our fiscal policies and reserves in a nature that they will be a factor. So again, just looking at that, that's how we kind of structured this program.
I think it's important to thoroughly investigate a purchase as large as this. And I think that's what we've done and looked at that. So I would like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the rest of the ladder truck.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. And before I call for a vote, I would ask the city clerk if there's anybody from the public wishing to comment on this.
Caller ending in 377, your line is unmuted. Do you wish to comment on this item? We have no further callers and we have no emails.
All right, thank you, city clerk. With that, since we have a motion in a second, I will just call for a roll call, please.
I heard the roll call in unison, or the second in unison. Can I confirm who made that second?
I believe Councilmember Avalos made the first and Councilmember Robertson made the second.
No.
Oh, reverse.
Let Sarah made the second.
Oh, thank you for that clarification, Joe.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
She beat me.
Councilmember Robertson,
Part.
Councilmember Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Franco.
Yes. All right, with that, we will move on to item number 3. Under regular business, consideration and review of project alternatives for authorizing staff to apply for funding for the project selected for Fresno County Community Development Block Grant Program funding for year 2021 through 2022.
Hi, Raina. Can you post our presentation, please? Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. We're here for our annual visit to discuss the project to apply for on the CDBG funds. And so I've got a brief presentation here just to kind of go over the general guidelines, limits of funding, types of funding available, and then the project that we are recommending as staff. On your screen now, you'll see the CDBG funding limits map. The yellow border around the portion of the city is the area that projects can be funded, which is basically broken down south of Floral Avenue, with the exception of the highway corridor to the north. So if you'll see that if there's any specific questions on that, I'll take those at any time. But that has been the funding limit for quite some time, other than the piece in the area of Floral and Dockery was recently added, I'd say in the last 2 years. Just to go back over one specific item is that ADA projects are fundable within the limits of the entire city, but area specific projects have to be within that yellow border. Next slide, please. I don't know if you can see this. I'm only seeing a portion of my screen. There we go. This is a 3-page document published by the county that lists the eligible and ineligible project types. As you'll see here, item 1, public facility and infrastructure improvements. That's typically been the type of project that we've moved forward with. You'll see water system improvements, sewer system improvements, street and drainage improvements, which has historically been our primary focus, fire protection improvements, neighborhood facilities, parks and recreation, solid waste equipment. Again, all of these are fundable items under the CDBG. As we continue on here, item H, removal of architectural barriers, that's ADA projects, as well as energy conservation measures. There are other items that are available for funding that are non-project related, such as housing rehab, down payment assistance, special economic development, including grants, loans, loan guarantees, interest subsidies to businesses, business incubator construction, public services such as employment training, crime prevention, child care, recreation, senior and youth center programs, help for the needy and homeless. We can do historic preservation, property acquisition and disposition, such as we did with the Valley View Storm Drain Basin back in 2015, property clearance, and targeted proactive code enforcement. Next slide, please. Oh, there's a little bit more there. Commercial industrial rehabilitation. And then this is the list of ineligible activities, civic buildings such as city halls, courthouses, police stations. We looked at the possibility of doing something with CDBG funds for the existing police station as an example, and that is ineligible unless the building is used for a public use rather than a city use. Operating and maintenance expenses are not eligible. Political activities, purchase of equipment, except for fire protection, and new housing and construction, other than through a separate program that CDBG also works within the city. Next slide, please. So I just want to go through kind of a brief history just to show you what we have done over the years. I've been involved in these projects back to, I believe, the 2007, 2008, maybe even the 6-7. You can see we've done various street and alley improvements. We did improvements in Nebraska and Bowder. Again, more and more street and alley improvements. I'll forego the details of all those, but we've done lots of street improvements. You'll see in 12-13, we did a flood mitigation project, which was storm drain in the area just south of Rose and west of the hospital. That was followed up the next year with street improvements to repave the streets that we just disturbed with storm drain. 2015-16, we used the money to purchase the Valley View Basin and commingled future funds to do some of the initial improvements, including the fencing and initial excavation, those sorts of things. We did the Ringo Park restroom replacement. We are now in construction as we speak on the Valley View storm drain improvements. There on, excuse me, on Valley View. And we are in the process of designing the sidewalk connectivity project that will go out to bid later this year. And next year's funds are slated for the downtown ADA improvements. So now we're here to present you with some options for this year, and we do have a recommended project, but are looking for your input, questions, and ultimate approval to move forward with an application. So this first project is a sewer replacement project. We've had many discussions on sewer within the city of Selma and its issues that we have with hurting development. This in particular is one of the projects that developers have been slated with replacement, and that has really prevented financially development from moving forward along the Nebraska corridor. We are currently putting together a project to repave Nebraska, as well as put that sewer main in from Mitchell to State Route 43. However, that leaves this segment of pipe shown on the screen now still needing replacement and rendering that new pipeline unusable until this work is done. This will be replacing approximately 1,600 lineal feet of 12-inch with 12-inch sewer. It's currently a 10-inch pipe. And this will essentially put in the master plan SKF facility that will allow development as far as is planned to the west across Highway 43 and in the Nebraska corridor. This project is estimated at approximately $345,000 turnkey. And the issue with that is that our annual allocation is approximately $210,000. We have discussed this with the CDBG, with the county, and we are in a position where we can time this project such that we can file for an amendment to allocate the following year's funds, a portion of those anyway, to make up the difference between the annual allocation and the project needs. I've also received word as of today that Kingsburg is potentially looking to forego their allocation for that year to save for future projects, which would allow us actually to borrow that money from Kingsburg as another project alternative for funding purposes. Next slide, please. This is the second project we're putting on the potential list here. We have the downtown ADA project going in the upcoming round. And so this project was put forth as a phase 2, so to speak, to go through and finish the job with High Street and the downtown ADA improvements completed. These are the last areas that in the downtown that we're still in need of paving. That's High Street from McCall to First, and then Mill Street from McCall to Selma Street. And then I also threw in to do some work on Lincoln Park because we do have some ADA compliance issues in the parking area along McCall. This project is estimated to be right in the range of $225,000, so very close to the allocation that we receive annually. Any differences could be made up for with local funds, local street funds, excuse me. This project could also be done with local street funds without CDBG. So we put it forth as an option, but believe that the use of the funds for the sewer project are more beneficial to the long-term development and needs of the city. Next slide, please. And lastly, one of the items that about 10 years ago, we did the ADA transition plan, and many of the items that we slated for ADA upgrades are still in need of work. And because CDBG funds can only be done with citywide benefit on ADA projects, thought it would be wise to throw that out there as another option. We have completed the work around the senior center with respect to ADA many years ago, but we've got work to do at many of the parks. Schaefer Park, Brettlinger Park has no parking except for on street, and there's no ADA compliant facilities there. Again, Schaefer Park has ADA stalls, but they're not truly compliant stalls, as well as many of the other parks. So that project is very scalable. We can target a series of parks that meet the annual budget and tailor fit it to our annual allocation. So with that, it kind of concludes my presentation side. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, and ultimately looking for authorization on one of these projects to move forward with the application.
Daniel, I have a question.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Kingsburg aren't going to use their allocation of their funds this year. Do you know what their allocation was, the amount that they have that potentially can be borrowed?
85,000.
Just 85,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Daniel, I
Yeah.
have another question.
Sure.
On the allocation for Kingsburg, now, does it have to be repaid if they don't use it? Say we do use theirs?
Basically, the way the system works is being that they only get an $85,000 annual allocation, it's difficult to put together a meaningful project for those kind of dollars. So what they do is they essentially loan out their money or their allocation to one or more other cities. And then in the future year, those same cities then have to forego whatever portion they borrowed from Kingsburg as part of their allocation. So if example, we worked out a deal with with the CDBG and Kingsburg to utilize all $85,000 in as part of our project, in that future year, we would have to allocate $85,000 of our funding back to Kingsburg. So it balances over time.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question.
so-
So a while back, Dan, you came to us and said you were going to do the project on High Street, the sidewalk project. Was that taken care of already with previous CDBG money?
That's the project that was just that you just had come before you for going to contract with the county. So I believe those funds will be allocated and go into contract. I want to say it's in August or September of this year, and then we'll be authorized to move forward with design of those facilities. So I would anticipate those to be built probably summer of next year.
So those funds have been encumbered. It's coming. It's just going through the process of being allocated right now. Is that correct?
Exactly. We should have those funds allocated, like I said, either August or September of this year.
So right now we're working on the allegations for the 1920, which is the improvements for the Valley View, the storm drain pipe. The project you're referring to is the next project after that, which is our 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan. Allocation. So that is the next project actually coming to fruition.
Yeah, we've got the Valley View storm drain was actually the 18 project.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then we've got the 1920 project is a sidewalk connectivity project, which is the sidewalks on the alphabet streets and in the area between Valley View and Thompson to the west, McCall to the east, and I'm trying to think the North Street. Anyway, it's the older part of town there. So that project is the 1920. 2021 is the downtown ADA improvements. And then we are looking for the 21-22 application as for this item on the agenda.
Yeah, Valley View is a storm drain basin that we're working on now. So the next one will be the sidewalk connectivity project, which is multiple areas getting them sidewalk there for areas that did not have anything at all, and some ADA ramps and things of that nature.
Yeah, and that project is in design as we speak, and we will be submitting that to the county next month.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
What's the allocated amount that we're getting this year? Or that we're budgeted for next year that we're going to talk about?
It's roughly 210,000. They don't give us a final number until all of their accounting work is done, but 210 is the number I've been given as a rough number.
So, and we're piecemealing little projects that can actually fit to the 210,000. So every time we're talking about budgeted, and we're talking about budgeted for the future, not now, because what they approved 2 years ago, a year ago, is what we're actually working on now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so theoretically, we've been getting $210,000 probably for the last 5 years, correct?
In prior years, it was a bit more, but it was as high as 225, 230, but it's dwindled down to about 210 now.
Okay. So in these projects, a lot of these projects, when they come to us and you bring them to us, we probably have a pretty good scope of what the actual budget is, right?
Yes.
For the magnitude, we know what the amount is, and it pretty much is going to be overlaying what the projects are. That's why some cities don't even do it because they don't have the allocated amount. So what they probably do is they budget a project for the near future that probably is about 2 to 3 projects, and that will actually work for them, right?
Right. I mean, the city of Selma, I believe, actually gets the largest allocation of any of the cities in this program in the valley. So we actually are generally able to put together a decent project for the $200,000+. Many of the cities don't receive even $100,000, so it's much tougher for them. So they'll tend to commingle funds from 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
And where I'm going with this is because, I mean, theoretically, our city is trapped right now. We are strapped down because of our infrastructure, sewer lines for our future projects that we want to build housing. Theoretically, we could have proposed that we build one 4 or 5 years ago and budgeted, and we could have had about, say, $1 million or $2 million and a half.
Well, they don't let us carry over the CDBG funding cycles in 3-year periods.
Okay, 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and because we are the highest funded city in the group, it's really tough for us to do as much bartering with our funds. You know, it's easier for a
And we
city to
can't.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
it'd be really tough for us to give all that money out to the other
Somebody's
cities.
not going to be able to give it back because they don't have that magnitude. It would carry over in about 5 years, and you can't because you just stated 3 years.
Yeah, our two best options in this regard are one, if we're doing street projects, we can always combine CDBG funds with local transportation funds to enlarge a project. Or if there's Measure C money that we have in our allocation, we can commingle our other funding opportunities for street type projects. With a project like the sewer that I'm proposing this round, what we can do is double up. In other words, it's not difficult to work the timing of the project such that when it's about time to bid this project out, the next round of allocation is ready to go forward. And we time the project such that we do an amendment to our contract to add the funds from the next year into the fund for that allocation. So it would not be difficult to take 2 years of allocation and put them into one project.
And you know what? And I just want to say something that I agree with you. Anything pertaining to the sewer infrastructure is a plus. But the only question I have is you mentioned something in regards to repair, not replace. Is that what you stated, or?
No, this is a replacement project.
Oh, good. Yes. Okay. I have no questions. I'm good.
All right.
I have a question.
I'm here all night.
Okay, the question, okay, we're gonna do, we're looking at the sewer. How about the water? Is the water in there too, in the play?
No, there's lines. Water infrastructure will still have to be built by development. In this case,
the reason why I'm asking that, I mean, I just don't want to be like Fresno. You go back, you pay the street, and you got to back and dig up the street and have the pipe down. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you, and we have that all under control. The section where this sewer is going in already has water infrastructure in place. And we're not proposing a repaving project in that portion. The area that we are looking at paving from Mitchell Avenue to essentially Highway 43, with the funding source that we're using, we're only able to repave the existing section, not expand or widen that zone. And the water main that would ultimately go in that area as a responsibility of development would be done outside the limits of the area that we're proposing to pave.
Okay, thank you.
I like the fact about doubling up. I mean, it gives us more bang for our buck, and that's future development and actually being conscientious as to a project.
Absolutely.
Carry an impact.
And pardon my interruption. Were you done, Councilman?
Yes.
Dan, what developers or areas are actually looking to develop that area who've approached you about that?
We have 3 specific developers that are looking into that area. Forgive me if I can't recall their names, but there was a tentative map proposed immediately to the west of Ringo Park and the school site. I want to say it's about a 70 unit or 70 lot subdivision in that area. And then on the west side of 43, we have 2 developers, Floyd Hinesley and for his last name, Josan.
Yes.
I I can't think of Josan's last name, but anyway, Josan just purchased an additional, I believe, 20 acres. I think they each control 40 acres on the south side of Nebraska and the west side of 43. And they are both actively looking for opportunity to develop in that area, and to eliminate some of the upfront sewer expense would definitely encourage them to move forward, because there is such a large expense related to sewer on this project. It's really hard to get one guy to go first, because the expense just doesn't make the projects just don't pencil out with that large expense up front.
So, I mean, I think this is close to a no-brainer in terms of this will enable new single-family residential construction to come in, which we sorely need in Selma. At the same time, the second place one around Lincoln Park is also a really worthy project. And I would ask if there are some street funds that might be able to be brought to bear on that, because that one looks important as well, with the Veterans Park coming in, with our downtown overlay that we just discussed. You know, downtown is going to be more in focus than ever before. So it's going to be important to make those ADA parking and pavement improvements in the future. So I hope if we do, you know, go with the first one, that we don't forget about the second option.
What's the amount on that project, the one for the park?
I estimated roughly 225,000.
Is there money in the street funds to handle that?
So for this fiscal year, we're looking to actually commingle quite a few funds we've accumulated over the period of years for our LTF or gas tax and things of nature. So we'll be looking to our pavement management plan and throughout looking at traffic flows to assess multiple projects throughout this fiscal year that we tried to bring together for you guys.
And I think we would want to consider the timing of coordinating that with the ADA sidewalk improvement project, and just would want to know, you know, once we do that, we wouldn't be damaging one improvement over the other, you know,
I'm in agreement with Councilman Robertson, but at the same time, I think we should make sure that, I mean, I'm with these two projects, but look for some street funding. But at the same time, me personally would not entertain borrowing from Kingsburg to pay back, you know, in the future, because we have a lot of projects that we need, and we'd rather think we're better, you know, working.
And we don't borrow from ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, if there's no further questions, I'm gonna open up the public. Do you have any questions? Okay, with that, City Clerk, do we have any comments from the public?
Caller ending in 377, your line is unmuted. Do you have any comments for the City Council? I only had one caller on the line, and I have no emails.
All right, thank you. With that, I will close public comment and I'll return it back to council.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Can you clarify your motion? What project you're making a motion?
I'd like to clarify the consideration of the resolution authorizing the purchase. Consider review the project alternatives and give the CDBG grant for the funding.
For the sewer
line. Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Robertson?
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Yes.
Mayor Franco?
Yes. All right. With that, we'll move on to regular business item number 4. Consideration of a resolution approving a certified list of all the parcels subject to a special tax levy pursuant to the City of Selma Community Facilities District number 2006-1, setting the amount of the special tax to be levied on each such parcel for the fiscal year of 2020 through 2021, and authorizing the placement of a special tax on the Fresno County tax roll. Mr. Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor, Council members. The item you have in front of you is one of our IL felonies for our safety CFD that we actually have located in Vineyard Estates. As you're aware, we are now in the second phase of Vineyard Estates. So as new homes come in and buildings are pulled, you will see expansion of what you see as an exhibit for additional homes to come into that CFD and get allocated through the tax roll. So for the fiscal year coming of 2021, which will be filed, you will see a new rate structure for single family homes at the amount of $595.66 per unit. There is a multifamily factor as well of $447.50, but at this time there's no multifamily within that area. The total allocation that we'll be receiving via this method, again, to be utilized for safety, it can be used for police, fire, paramedic service, park service, and also storm drain. We're looking at a total allocation of $57,903. Again, this is just an annual filing we do, allowing us to file to the tax roll, put it to the property tax as well. We are looking at this fiscal year of a total of 83 parcels being assessed. Is there any questions for this item?
I have a question. The 595.66 limit, is that the 390 limit with an escalation factor applied?
Correct. The actual first marker they talk about or discuss of $300 or so. That was the base, the starting point, and the rest that you'll see on an annual basis is just the escalation compounding every single year on top of each other. So you'll see it go up gradually by that factor. So how the assessment actually works is it's the greater of the CPE or CPI or the 3%. So as you can see from the actual exhibit, majority of times the 3% is actually going to be the higher two. I believe it was maybe one year was actually greater than that, where the CPI actually exceeded the 3%.
Is there any balance in this fund right now to pay for the police, fire, paramed, park service, and storm drain services, or does the city spend that money each year, and is there a time frame in which the city spends that?
There is no time frame when it actually needs to be utilized. We do use it periodically through a year. I mean, the allocations themselves, as you can see, it's getting bigger each year. So the American Cements before ranged between 30,000, a little greater than that. So as you can know from safety expenditures, that'll chew up a small equipment purchase for 15,000, things of that nature. 59,000. I mean, just a PD vehicle itself costs about $50,000. So we kind of use it sparingly as we come through when excess needs to be come through for safety or for parks, and kind of use that fund when it comes. So it's not a direct allocation of budget. It's really as projects or necessity comes available that we need to look for a funding mechanism.
Where is that in the budget, that particular account?
It's set up on your other funds. When you look at your last sheets in one of the exhibits where you'll see all the other listed funds, you'll see it there.
Thank you for that completed budget.
You're welcome.
Isaac, I have a question.
Sure.
And this is for the Vineyard Estates. Now, I know they're on phase 2 right now.
That's correct.
Right? Now they're going to have a phase 3 as well.
They will have a phase 3. They've already been talking to the planning department and getting and processing that map and what it looks like. So they are moving forward through that process to start looking at that phase 3. They still have about 10 homes that has been pulled as far as permits wise, open space. So once they pull a permit, that's when they actually start getting this allocation, and they'll start working on the project, obviously. But they still have about another 8 to 10 parcels that needs to be pulled still. So they'll work in conjunction with getting those sold.
Isaac, I have a question. It doesn't pertain to this, but it pertains to the matter. Do all subdivisions that have been built have an assessment?
This is actually the first assessment that was done back in 2006, I believe. To answer your question, no, that was one of the newest developments that came in, and it's the only one that actually at this time has what we call a CFD, Community Facilities District for safety. About 2 years ago, I actually done an assessment to look at a citywide fiscal assessment for safety. So that a study was actually done. It's just kind of shelved. Really what you need is a development to come in to execute a CFD, and we have not had something come in at that point to be able to assess it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, are there any more questions from council? If not, I will open it up to the public for any comments. City Clerk, do we have anybody wishing to comment on this matter?
Caller ending in 377, your line is unmuted. Is there anything that you would like to let council know regarding this agenda item? I have no further callers on the line, nor do I have any emails, Mayor Franco.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I will close the public comment portion of this, return it back to council. And unless there's any question, entertain a motion for this item.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
All right, roll
Thank
call,
you.
please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Franco.
Yes. All right. With that, that will conclude our regular business on this agenda, and we'll move over to departmental reports. And we'll start off with our city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Wanted to make you aware that we have received a letter from Congressman Cox's office requesting the opportunity for the mayor and council to sign on to a letter that the congressman is actually sending to the U.S. House of Representatives and the United States Senate leadership in order to support getting
Did you mean TJ Cox or did you mean Costa?
Cox.
TJ,
Sorry.
okay, I thought I heard Costa.
Yeah, no, TJ, Congressman TJ Cox. Thank you. It's kind of hard with the mask on.
It's hard.
So thank you for asking about that clarification. In any case, he is writing to them to urge them to include direct funding to local governments without regard to population size in the next emergency coronavirus package. So I know that this is something that you all have been supportive of, but I just want to make sure you're aware we'd like to go ahead and put your electronic signatures of support on there.
Do you just need a consensus on that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Are we all in agreement on that? Or have you guys seen the copy of that email yet?
Yes.
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 Yeah. So I know I'm in favor of supporting that request for funding for cities our size. So I think we have a consensus. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 All right. All right. Continue on, city manager, with your report.
Yes, another item, good news. Last week, we received notice from the USDA Rural Development Block Grant that we did receive a grant award of $40,000 to do a feasibility study for a business improvement district in downtown. So that was very positive news for our downtown and our efforts for economic development there.
Who's going to do the feasibility study?
We have not made that determination yet, but we are right now working on getting the paperwork to solidify the grant and finalize that and learn about all of the rules for utilizing the grant and the reimbursements. But we'll keep you informed as we move forward.
And also,
thank you. We also, just to piggyback on what Tracy Tosta mentioned earlier about the comments we've received on the Selma mask campaign cover up to open up. Dr. Palmaville did send an email today to the county and cities within Fresno County, about 120 people, commending Selma for its campaign and challenging the county and all cities to do something similar. So it was really positive, very encouraging email from Dr. Palmaville. And again, showcasing the work that everybody has done. So keep up the great work, and we appreciate everybody being a leader on wearing your mask, cover up to open up. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney, Mr. Costanza?
No reports, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Assistant City Manager and Finance Director?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple items to follow up with you. SB 74, which is a state appropriation of the 1.5 million for the storm drain project. The draft contract actually has been commented on and returned back to the State Water Board. So we've been looking to get that back from them soon on our comments. So again, we'll push that through as fast as we can. I'll keep you updated every step of the way to make sure we can get that allocation and get that project moving. Another item that I'd like to update you on, I've reached out to every single individual council member, had a discussion on basically how our meetings are run and kind of update them on what that process looks like and how we can kind of streamline some of these things. And one of the main topic of discussion was really looking at laptops for council members and how we can kind of get a little more efficient in that process, go a little more digital, get away from these packets that can kind of weigh 10 pounds sometimes. So it was pretty unanimous on looking and moving forward with a laptop type of nature for individuals to receive those packets. Again, our paper packets are still be available if council requests them. But I would like to say it was pretty unanimous. We'd like to move forward. The laptops we're looking at are more of a laptop or a Microsoft Surface, similar to you'll see the department heads wearing. It's kind of a hybrid in the sense that it's a tablet, but it's also a laptop. It's got a full keyboard, full functionality. They didn't want to get a large scale laptop. Given the conversation that I have, it was pretty much in the sense that we need something that would be good for our packets, something good for meetings, something we can do our Zoom. Don't need something overly robust. We just need something feasible and easy to work with. This system is a Windows-based tablet or a functionality of a laptop. So I'd like to go ahead and move forward with that type of purchase. The overall purchase for all five will be about $5,000. We will be looking to allocate it to the council budget itself. If we see some kind of funding come available, we'll go ahead and directly allocate it to that as well. But at this time, to be able to move forward, I think it'd be important just to allocate it to the budget and we can go forward. So that's one item I think we're all in agreement on. So the next item that I'd like to update you on is, as you can see from our council meeting today, we're getting a lot smoother when it comes to how the Zoom meeting is working. DataPath is working with us again to try and get that streamlined. They do recognize that the issues that we're currently having are more of an audio visual, not as a technical factor. For example, it's not tied back to an issue with our server per se. Really, this is an audio visual with the specialties that so what they've done now is that I looked to another organization and we had a meeting today on how we can actually get this a lot more fine tuned. So that you don't have the feedback and things of that nature. And really what it is getting additional equipment. The mixer we have now, I couldn't even tell you when we purchased it. It's very large, almost the size of a half of a table. We can get that resolved by actually spending about $5,000 just to kind of streamline what our process looks like. It won't eliminate Zoom. It will complement Zoom is what it'll really do. So it'll basically just eliminate the mixture that we have, and it'll filter out that feedback. A good example is if I'm talking, but Chief has his mic on, and we'll be picking up each other, right? So it'll eliminate that double feedback and that circulation of how that flow goes. So for a small price point, they're giving me quotes. The overall system itself, it can go as fast and as efficient as we want it to be. So they're giving me the range just to fix what we have, about 5,000, to get more advanced up to 20,000. So we'll be looking at those quotes and kind of getting that feedback. So we're working with our DataPath, our consultants for IT, and they're working. And you did see Ryan, which is our tech support. He was actually here today to assist our meeting. He'll be doing that for the next couple of meetings to kind of get us to be a lot more streamlined and efficient to make sure that we don't have those troubles. So we are hearing what you're saying as far as we want to get efficient, we want to get things streamlined, we want to get our tech support in the loop and make sure that they are fixing any issues that we have. So I think you can see that moving forward. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. Is there any questions at all or any one of those talking points?
Thank you, Isaac.
You're welcome.
Will there be capabilities to take notes on that surface? Will it be a specialized kind of reporting function that we can have?
So Microsoft Windows, actually, our Microsoft Office has what I'm using right now. You can see me using my tablet throughout the meeting. Those of you who see me, OneNote is what it's called. It's a standard functionality. It's pretty user-friendly. So we can discuss that, and IT will assist with any questions you have, whether it's taking notes, looking at PDFs, things of that nature, working with Zoom a lot more efficient. It's got a mouse pad. It's got a full keyboard. So that functionality, yes, will be there. So you can see me somewhere, and I can show you after the meeting, or if some council member would like to come in, I can show them how I take notes and basically just using the agenda, writing right next to it, taking those notes and kind of just moving through that process. So I
It'll
can
be nice to have, all of the paperwork loaded so that we don't have to go through what we went through tonight with that report, the project report. We can have it all in front of us on the surface. That'll really help. We can have that loaded instead of rely on paperwork, which gets forgotten, misplaced. Be nice to have it all in one place.
Yeah, understood.
All right, thank you. Public Works?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. From Public Works this week, I got a follow-up report and presentation on where we are with as far as retrofitting our LED lights in town. Marina, if you would. Thank you, Rena. Next slide, please.
That's the tree of life.
Okay, LEDs are extremely efficient and energy efficient and consume up to 90% less power than incandescent bulbs. Since LEDs use only a fraction of the energy of an incandescent bulb, there's a dramatic decrease in power cost. Also, both money and energy are saved in maintenance and replacement costs due to the long lifespan of an LED. Less frequent replacement means two big things, actually three big things. Lower maintenance costs in terms of labor and lower costs for replacement parts and more time for Public Works to focus on other things. Next slide, please. Okay, our big project right now, as far as retrofitting LEDs, are our Hollywood poles. When I took over as Director of Public Works Department, we had 43 of these light fixtures not working, and currently they all work and will continue to all work. On this slide, it shows the PG&E cost for LED wattage as opposed to high pressure sodium wattage, which is what we had prior to our retrofits. Currently, we're saving approximately $579 a month on the retrofitting of 93 of our Hollywood lights. We have two styles of Hollywood lights, one being a candlestick, which you see on this slide here. It's a single light. And then I broke down the cost for what a retrofit is for the city. So for a 24 watt equivalent retrofit kit, you got $47 for the parts. 2 employees, half hour each, $37.67 a piece, total of $84.67 to retrofit 1 fixture. Next slide, please, Raina. Secondly, we have our doubles, our Hollywood doubles, if you will. Again, it shows you the cost of the replacement for LED from a high pressure sodium to an LED, which is $39 each. 2 employees, half hour each, $37.67. Total cost $76.67 per fixture. Next slide, please, Raina. Mr. Mayor, Council, currently we have retrofitted 93 of these light fixtures, and we have a total of 230. So we got a little ways to go. This slide we're looking at currently shows you an example of, on the left, you have a high pressure sodium light, as opposed to the right side, you got a LED light. It's a different type of light. It's a cleaner, less obtrusive, if you will, light. It's kind of a personal preference as to which you prefer, but LED is the way we're headed. So there's an example of both. Next slide, please, Raina. This is just an example of what the retro kit looks like. On the left, you have a high pressure sodium bulb, 100 watt bulb. That screws obviously into a socket and a ballast. The ballast contains capacitors, it contains igniters, and it contains the ballast assortment. Those run approximately $60 a piece, and the bulbs are about $11 a piece. So you're looking at about the same cost to replace the parts of a high pressure sodium fixture as you are of an LED. which uses 90% less of the watts. Next slide, please. We've also been retrofitting our Cobra head lights, street lights. These are the street lights you see around town that are 100-watt high pressure sodium as well. We have done approximately 10 thus far, and as they go out, we will replace them with LED, or as they're installed, they will be installed with LED. Our total savings as of this point on our Cobra heads is $1,000 annually, I believe. Yes, it's $1,000 annually. Excuse me, $6,000 annually. Next slide, please, Raina. Our latest retrofit has been done at RINCON Park at the new playground. Me and my crew were in there last week, and we retrofitted the lights in that park to LED. And I was out there taking some pictures, so I want to show you an example of the lighting. It's very important that the parks, playgrounds, our facilities are lit up at night for security reasons. Next slide, please, Raina. Okay, now I'm going to go through a list of, I'm not going to go through every single one, but a list of the lights that we have retrofitted in the last year or so. We've done a total of 336, ranging from our Hollywood and candlesticks, which are the decorative poles I spoke about earlier downtown, our Cobra heads, which are the other style of street lights. We retrofit our traffic signals as they go out to LED. City-owned parking lots, we've retrofitted. Pump stations, which are our lift pumps for our stormwater. The corporate yard, we retrofitted 22 light fixtures, which vary from our shop lights to our wall packed units outside the building, to our parking lot lights, to our security lights. City Hall, we've done 8 exterior lights, which are the outsides of the doors and the entrance to City Hall, as well as 34 interior lights, which are going to be the 4-foot incandescent lights, tube lights. Fire department annex, we've done a couple, and it goes on and on and on. I don't want to go through every single one of these with you guys. I don't want to bore you, but the more we do, the more we save. Another thing to consider on the LED retros is the maintenance. Since we have started doing retrofits on our lighting, I can confidently say that we haven't had to do any maintenance or replacements on not one single fixture. It's amazing, to be honest with you. The LEDs come with a driver in them, and you eliminate the ballast, so it gives off a lot less heat. So on lighting that we're retroing inside, it's going to also produce savings on our HVAC bills, on our cooling bills. However, on the opposite side of that, during the winter, it's gonna cost us a little more because those lights produce a little heat, so we're gonna have to run a little more heat. I did my best to get you guys accurate numbers as far as savings go thus far. It's pretty hard to go through our utility bills and distinguish between our street lights and our traffic signals and our irrigation controls, and there's so many different pieces of equipment that utilize power. It's hard to break it down to just the specific light. That pretty much concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys have. And like I said, we do plan on moving forward with the Hollywood poles. That's going to be huge savings. We've saved thus far on the Hollywood retros. 1 second, please. Thus far with our Hollywood retros we've done, we're saving $7,000 a year. And we have 123 to go. So you can double that and add some to it. So annually, we're going to be saving, I would say, around $17,000 a year on our utility bills, just with the Hollywood poles. Any light that we replace or repair now is retroed automatically to an LED. There's no question about it. they're so much more energy efficient. The maintenance on them are minimal, and that's what I have for you guys tonight. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And thank you guys.
Thank you, Shane.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
With that, we'll move on to our fire department.
Thank you. Just a quick update on our personnel that we have assigned out at the mineral fire out near Kalinga. We currently have 5 people assigned out there. 3 that are staffing the brush truck and working there actually on their 8th day of their assignment. And then we also have 1 person assigned out as a line paramedic working the fire line, and another person assigned as a public information officer. So I got word today that a few of them may be released tomorrow. And then we just also found out that a fire has broken out up in the Susanville area. So there is potential that they could be reassigned up to that area. But I'll keep the city manager updated and to keep everybody informed as to what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And Police Chief Gomez.
Mayor, City Council, our matrix changed Saturday, so you should see more officers out on the street. I was counting 1 shift last night, and there was 1 sergeant and 6 officers. So that's a significant increase. And so you should see that in the officers you see out on the street. I didn't put this on the slides, but I just wanted to talk about it because Councilmember Robertson inquired about it Friday night. There was a pursuit, and I know others that live here in Selma brought it up too. And it was some gangsters in a car. We pursued them through the city into the county. The Eagle One, the helicopter, FSO helicopter was involved, and deputies were involved in it also. They stopped in the city. There's a carload of gangsters. They put the car in reverse and they rammed one of our police cars. Not real bad, the front dented a little bit. And we were able to catch all of them and put them under arrest. But just wanted to cover that because I didn't have it up here. We're going to have an vehicle abatement operation regarding abandoned vehicles, which there's quite a few in Selma that I've seen around. And we had some extra money in the Burns grant. So I left it up to the sergeants to develop an operation. I'm kind of more into going after gangsters, parolees, but actually in COVID time, it's probably a good idea. And they came up with this, and I thought it was perfect because the week prior, code enforcement, Juan Mendez gave me a list of abandoned vehicles, and I had given that list to our CSO, but she'd been very busy. I didn't know she had addressed it. She actually, didn't even know this was coming, and she had tagged a lot of cars already. So on the 28th and the 31st, we will probably be towing a lot of those cars, and if not, tagging others for 72 hours. So that will happen on the 28th and 31st. Next slide, please. Raina. I threw this in here because I've been talking to Karen Foster at Walmart. I spend a lot of time out there. When I have free time, I'll go on a patrol check there. I actually do my paperwork in the car there because I know all Walmarts, a lot of calls per service are generated there. So she approached me and she told me about this, that today they're starting to require masks of everybody who come into the store, significant change in their corporate policy. So generally, when something like that happens, it's going to increase calls for service for us. We haven't seen it today, and hopefully it does not. But that's why I added this story in the presentation. Next slide, please. And good news, Post is allowing us to do some training again. We have 2 dispatchers going to a dispatch academy coming up late July here. That's a 3-week course. And then 2 of our officers are going to the field training officer course, and field training officers teach new officers out in the field. And that's a week-long course, the week of August 3rd. But it's a good deal that they're allowing us to go to training again. Next slide, please. we're gonna have some movement in Magic. Sergio Maldonado is there now. He wanted to come out, so we put it out to our officers, and we will be putting a K-9 officer Justin Holt in there. And right now he's filling in. This week he's filling in for Sergeant Garza. He went on vacation, so Justin will be the officer in charge, and then the next week he'll go to Magic, and Sergio will come back to patrol. Next slide, please. It's just a little caper at Walmart. Happened last week. This gentleman is Gilbert Contreras. He's 31. He's from Orosi. The officers were out at Walmart, and they see 2017 Hyundai drive in there. It looks like it's spray painted. So it's a pretty new car to be spray painted. And he makes it in, he makes it out of the car. He gets in the Walmart before we get him. The officers go over there, they run the plate, find out it's stolen, and they set up on it. And we got the helicopter there also, but he didn't come back to it. And the helicopter saw the engine was hot, or that it was running. They could tell it was running. So we went up there and recovered it. And next to that car, the car was stolen out of Orosi. Next to the car was another car stolen out of Orosi. Really kind of interesting. So we don't get him right away. He takes off. He goes west of Walmart a ways, I guess on Floral. And he has a family give him a ride to the Burger King. So I'm thinking he's probably trying to get back to the stolen car because that's not going very far. But what happens is he made a mistake. He left his cell phone in the car and it was open. So we saw his picture. So we went over to the Burger King because the family called in and said, hey, this guy wanted to ride to the Burger King. We thought that was odd. So we saw his photo on his phone, and we went over and arrested him for the one stolen car. And he admitted he was in that car, so we arrested him for that. Next slide, please. And this happened on the 16th. A couple gangsters. This one is Alexis Diaz Jimenez, in his 20s. He's a gangster, and he was a passenger in this vehicle. He had a felony warrant for resisting arrest, and also had some drugs on him, like Xanax and that pills, illegal pills. And when we took him into the jail, they tried to destroy him. So he was arrested on those drug charges and bringing evidence into the jail too. Next slide, please. And this was the driver. His name is Gemini Moreno. And this guy's a shooter, and probably Alexis too. He's absolutely a gang shooter. I'll show you the gun they had. Beautiful assault rifle. You could tell he put a lot of work into that. He had this in the car on the back floorboard. It was fully loaded. The safety was off and ready to go. And I recall this guy because when I started here the first month, I don't think it was our agency, but another agency was looking for him, and he was armed at that time. And I just remember his face because when I saw him, I didn't know if he was a man or a woman. I couldn't tell. But and I researched it and remembered him from that. But the way we made this case is from social media, because everybody in the world wants recognition just about, and they want recognition. They get it on social media, and the officer did an excellent job. He has a fake account actually, and he was able to look at his video, and he's in the same car that we stopped him in. It's a BMW. He's got the assault rifle next to him. While he's driving, he's got a Modelo. He's drinking his Modelo and big piece of methamphetamine. He's showing this. It's all in the video. So it's excellent evidence for us. And we tracked him down based on that. Next slide, please. And this is what he had in the car. So that's probably a civilian version of the M16, which we carry in the military. That's the same size round, fully loaded, like I said, and the safety was off. So anytime you can take that gun off the street, you're absolutely stopping a shooting. And I know I brought this to you quite a few times and done press releases, but we've got a lot of guns. Since I've been here, we've got a lot of guns, and most of them have come out of gangsters' hands. So you could directly attribute this to our shootings being so low in the last 4.5, 5 months. But they went to jail for that. Next slide, please. And this is just getting back to something I talked about last meeting, the 3808 Wright Street. That's what this photo is from. And last slide. This was the main suspect there. Paul Reyna was a drug dealer that we arrested there. So the day after our last council meeting, Anker Baines had asked me to go to a civil hearing against Mr. Reyna. Anker was getting a restraining order. I went and testified. He had asked me to go. And he ended up, Paul ended up getting a restraining order against him for 5 years, which is pretty good. And so that's working out pretty well. There haven't been any other calls for service out there. Very limited calls. Anker's not calling me every night, sending me videos, which is good. That's a good thing, you know. I think he's finally happy out there. So it worked out pretty well, pretty well. And that concludes my presentation for tonight.
Thank you, Chief, and you and the
You're welcome.
department keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to our Recreation Department.
Yes, I just wanted to let you know, Selma Denny's on this Friday, we're going to be serving the seniors a nice breakfast. So just a shout out for Denny's. They're going to charge $4. So we're going to be delivering a little bit different meal, give the seniors some variety. But we're moving forward. And then thank you for approving the per capita money tonight. We're going to use that towards the park too. And it'd be a good project. We're moving forward with the county on the purchasing. We're getting a phase 1 right now, getting a couple quotes and then getting it appraised. So we're going to full speed ahead.
Thank you. Okay, council reports. Councilmember Avalos.
Yeah, Gomez, thank you for your troops on the ground. I drive around, I see a bunch of them now. Thank you. Even you, I see you. You don't see me, I see you. I'm in a marked car. Let you know that. Okay, on this mass program that we laid out in the city of Selma, all the gas station people are abiding by it now? They have their no mass enter program in their stores? Yeah, the reason why I asked you that question, the other day I stopped, I was ready to jump on the freeway and I kind of look at Star Market by the school over there, and I noticed that people were walking in with no mask. I didn't see anything on the door there. You know, can we check that gentleman out and ask him to kind of jump in the program with us if he can? Yeah, it's Star Market right there next to the freeway. And the other thing too, I wonder if the health department, head of health department, next council meeting, if he can come down and give us a update of what is going on in the valley, is to the council, as council here, because we, as council people, we're taking guidance, from the health department, but we want to hear from the main guy, say, well, what are you actually doing? Not just the city of Selma, but throughout the valley, you know what I mean? Because we're all in the same boat. And, like when Harris gets infected, I know it's county, but the people live here in Selma. So we want to know if Harris is complying with the health department, these industries, not only with Harris, but also make sure the people in the farm laborers, if the farmers are understanding how important it is to be safe, to keep our numbers down. Because like I say, mask up, open up, we want to do that, but we all got to be on board on this, everybody, not just us, but the people out there, and I want, because we see this downtown area beautification operation, but what good is it when we can't open up? These investors are, business people and invest in money, and the people who don't collect, the renters can't collect money because there's no one there in their shops to gain money, and we got to find a way to help them. And I think if we bring the main guy down from the health department and kind of do us an update, what is actually going on in the valley, next council meeting, if we can do that.
We can certainly ask them if they could come and give a presentation or Zoom in at one of our next meetings. And we do talk to them on a weekly basis. Chief Peterson, Tracy Tosta, I'm able to join them sometimes depending on whether it's the Cal OES meeting or the county meeting. But they are giving us regular communication about how we're doing. But we understand your request and we'll definitely try and schedule something.
Okay. There's another issue, and I looked at, the public works. I thank Shane for hard work and his staff. And I look at, how hard these guys are working on a, 24/7 on the streets, keep our parks are clean. You look at our parks, they're clean, man. They're the cleanest in the valley. And we're going to, and in the future, we're going to have another park over there by the Rockwell Pond. And the future, I'm looking, and also not to mention the Golden State Corridor that we're going to be responsible for from on our buffer zone, from the other side of Fowler to part of Kingsburg, between the middle. We're going to have responsibility there as far as our maintenance there. I'm trying to find a way to our next budget meeting to look for the future to help fund a mechanism for the public works for the future of their operation, because it's going to take a lot of work, maintaining parks and the water and everything, and even in the Golden State Corridor. Yeah, keep it clean, keep it, because these guys, they're the ones when people come to the city of Selma, hey, if they don't keep it clean, it looks bad in the city of Selma. It does. So I have to admire, Shane's squad. They're doing a hell of a job and putting the lights up and everything. I got to commend them, short staff and everything. But once again, it's the work of everybody working together in the city. And I thank everybody for what they do. I don't care what they do in our city, but I thank them for what they do because they're a part of the wheel. I thank them. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Ravalos. Councilman
You got a piece of
Robertson.
government there?
Yeah, somebody just walked in on me.
That's all right, man. It's all right. Grandpas are good.
Councilman Robertson.
We all set? I attended a webinar by the Fresno County Elections Department on the upcoming November election. Was very informative about the new processes with COVID-19, how you register, how you fill out your paperwork. It's a different world this year. I attended a Southeast Regional Solid Waste Commission meeting. The city of Orange Cove has requested a deferral of their supplemental fees, which will be on the next meeting's agenda. So that was the item that came up during that. I attended the Kings Basin Water Authority annual pre-budget meeting. Selma's annual membership fee will stay the same at $7,000 as in years past with the other cities of our size. The good thing is Selma's using it. Selma's one of 2 cities that applied for that SB1, the storm drain money, and Selma did a good job getting the application in before the July 2nd deadline. So that's definitely going to be very helpful to do that. This kind of gels with my last comment. I was speaking with Senator Hurtado this weekend about the problems with our homeless encampments at 99 and Floral, the on-ramp, how dangerous it is, and how Caltrans won't come. So I just called her to see if we could get some help there because she's got the ears of some of the lawmakers there. And she said, we're not the only ones. We're not the only city with this problem. There's massive encampments going on right now in pretty dangerous places. Caltrans is not going out there with CHP. And she advised us to send her a brief memo to her office. She is consolidating these memos into a delegation letter that she's going to take to the governor and say, help us out with CHP. Our cities are getting more and more dangerous. As Councilman Avalos said, it looks terrible. And it's really squalid living conditions for these poor people that are out there. We need to clear that out. And it's bad for business owners who are getting ripped off and broken into around there. Really puts a lot of pressure on our law enforcement and maintenance. And then I also talked with her about the water. She got us or helped get us that grant for $1.5 million last year. She urged us, and I think you already did it, but she urged us, the assistant city manager said earlier, but she said, apply for that allocation to the water board because that's going to be money that they're going to try to take. She said, get on that and definitely get that money sooner than later, just because if we don't apply for it, they're going to try to have dibs on it when they go through their budget process again, I guess, in August and then again in November. So we definitely want to have that. We want to have that money allocated to Selma then. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Robertson. Councilmember Trio?
Yes, attended the SKF meeting. And I'd like to ask the city staff to see if we could get a update on on Amberwood. Also on the Raven Home development, what's occurring with them. If we could put it on the agenda or just get the council an update. Also, Isaac, Teresa, we had a meeting a while back in regards to what we requested some information in regards to SKF on the board, the two structured boards that oversee the budgeting process with SKF. And I know we had talked to Isaac in regards to looking at what they had implemented for budget wise, what they were going to do per year, and then how they were finalizing their actual completion projects. And did you ever get any information? I'd like some information back on that. And in regards to this COVID, we're moving in a direction where it's going backwards. And as a business owner owning a restaurant, that we're having people sit outside, and it really is important that we as a city unite together and work together to show our businesses, because our restaurants in this community are going to really take the bare brunt. And anything we can do just to show them unity and working together is a big plus. I just want to reiterate that the small businesses are really getting affected, and it's really important that we as legislators go out and let everyone know that it's so important that we have to actually help our local business owners. You know, it's really important. Aside of that, I'm good. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councilmember Trio. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Okay. Again, I'd like to talk about the census. You know, that's my big #1 item that we need to keep working on the census, because especially because it's been extended to October the 15th. I did look up where Selma is right now. Currently, we're at 62%, 62.5%. So we're doing better, but we really need to do much more. I mean, we need to get at least up to, I'd like to see in the 80s, 90s, you know. So hopefully we'll get there. The other thing, again, we did talk about the encampment there on Floral, and I know we're beating this to death, but the other issue that we're getting complaints to, Chief, is the shopping carts that are on the freeway. I mean, I tell them, I said, you know, they're really working to get those things removed.
That are on the freeway?
Well, they said they're on the side of the freeway.
They have in that, I call it a gore, where that little triangle as you're talking about. There are some there. I was there today. I pull up, there's a little, you could pull up right, like park right there, a little parking spot right next to it. And they do have some, you're right. They do inside that gore.
I mean, some people said they were even, you know, walking with them off the freeway. And I mean, we get it, you know, it keeps happening. So hopefully we're going to work on that.
Yeah.
And try to get some of that, you know, resolved.
Scoop them
the
up.
other thing, Teresa, I'd like to see if you can just elaborate on 3 of the items or 3 major projects that we are currently working on right now. I mean, if maybe you could just give us three items.
So we've got some items going to the Planning Commission next week. One is for the ABC license for Chicken Shack. Another item we are currently working on is we are working with the Farneys, continue to work very closely with them on the hotel. You just recently approved the tentative track map. So that was a big item that we continue to work on with them. We've been discussing some of the timing of that project and continue to work on that. So that's moving forward and is pretty exciting. Another one, it was mentioned, Councilmember Trujillo mentioned Amberwood. We do have had some discussions with Lennar. And I can give probably more of an update at the next one, but they have been in contact with planning to find out about their fees. So we have been giving them information they need to make the next steps to move forward there. Also, with KB Raven, we have had multiple meetings with them and with some consultants to talk about the formation of a CFD or a zone of benefit. They've been doing their due diligence for their property negotiations. So they wanted to make sure they understood how putting in that sewer infrastructure, how that could work so that they could be reimbursed through some of these mechanisms. And we've answered a lot of questions for them, sent them an update last week with additional answers to their questions. And they're very appreciative of all the information that we've been giving them. And I think they are on their way with their negotiations. So those are a couple of really big ones that some little ones and some bigger ones that we've been working on. And if it would be easier, well, we'll still get you the form so we can have Kira go through them all, but happy to answer questions as we go, or maybe just bring a couple to every meeting.
Right.
Would that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
We could stay on like we said, maybe the top 3 major projects that are probably getting closer so that we know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. They're getting there.
That we could talk about.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these are
Yeah.
definitely still, longer term, but we are making progress and answering questions and trying to help facilitate them.
Okay. And let's keep.
Give me a minute.
Oh, just one other question that I'm also getting. In regards to the Nebraska Street project, is that going to be, I thought we said something about it was going to start in July.
It was scheduled actually to start in July. Remember, we shifted the funding source into a federal program, which it actually made us doing some additional environmental work. It requires us to do a NEPA. So we actually just finished that. So we're trying to get back on track with that project. So since the funding mechanism changed and we had added to that project by installing a sewer pipe, it prolonged that project. So if we were going to continue down the line of SB1, you're right, we would have been able to bid that project out. Because we've changed that funding mechanism, it required us to do some additional steps. But it allowed us to actually expand on the project though. So.
Okay, and then just one other question. In regards to the lighting downtown, the little Christmas lighting, I know some of it is kind of, or I don't know if people try to take it down. Is there any way we can get some of that replaced when it gets closer to the holidays? Can we look at something like that?
Look at that.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Perta Guerra. As for myself, I attended the weekly Cal OES emergency meeting in regards to COVID. I had a conversation with the office of Congressman PJ Cox. And I just want to commend staff on the work on our Cover Up campaign. Not only that, but incorporating the census and the outreach at the same time. As Mayor Pro Tem Guerra said, is how important it is to our communities to get as many people to do the census. So I just want to thank staff for all their hard work on that. And that's all I have for me. So with that, we will move on to oral communications. Notice to the public. At this time, any member of the public may address the city council regarding any item over which the council has jurisdiction. No actions or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issue raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public shall limit their remarks to 3 minutes. City Clerk, do we have anybody?
No callers on the line.
Okay, with that, we will close oral communication and I look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and have a